की कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंद गोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जलाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातां सहगणा रघुनाथां वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांता नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So I welcome you all once again. So before we start, does anyone want to share something from the previously discussed shlokas? Maybe 2 or 3 points quickly. So what is the name of the chapter that we are reading? This is the conversation between
Four Kumaras.
four Kumaras and Prithvi. Yes, right, Prabhuji. Thank you. So, and we see from the beginning of the chapter, like initially, Prithu Maharaj, when he receives four Kumaras, he demonstrates an example that how one should receive. Even if one has no much resources in the house, then also one need to be, if one is just offering a seat, one place, speaking with nice words, those are sufficient. But on the other side, even if one is very opulent, but does not have these things, then that is not very much appreciated, right? And then we see uh, how the questions should be asked. Right? The questions asked by Prithu Maharaj to the four Kumaras were very much similar to the questions which the sages in Naimisharanya and Parikshit Maharaj had asked to Sutta Goswami and Shukadeva Goswami respectively. So, and then we see four Kumaras, they are glorifying Prithu Maharaj back, saying you are an incarnation of the Lord and you know it all, but still you are asking because it is to basically set the standards for others. So these are the beautiful verses. And then uh, the beauty of the Bhagavatam is that one instruction. Okay, we open a Bhagavatam book and go to any page, pick any sloka, and that sloka has the potency to change our life entirely 180 degree. Okay, why do we say 180 degree? Because why not 360 degree? It's a quiz question. Why do we say 180 degree, not 360 degree? Someone wants to answer?
Prabhuji, question once again, Prabhuji. Your voice is too low to me.
Oh, is it? Okay. So when I say, is it better now, Mataji? I'm trying to be a bit louder now.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm saying when we open Srimad Bhagavatam and open any page and read any sloka, then that sloka has the potency to change our life by 180 degree. And then I just asked a small quiz question. Why not 360 degree? I said 180 degree. Because someone wants to answer? Because when we say 360 degree, we take the full circle and we come back to the same point, right? So coming to the same point means what? Well, it is good that we discussed the shloka and we imbibed, we heard it very, very sincerely. But if we do not apply it, okay, then we do not progress. It is very important that we hear, okay, but then the next important thing is to try our best, our sincere efforts to apply what we learn is the second most important thing. Okay, so let us pray the Lord, Srila Prabhupada, our acharyas, that whatever things we are going to learn today, let those learnings remain in our heart for a very long time, and then we get a chance to apply them. So because the purports are longer, we will directly jump in reading the slokas. But let me tell you very, very clearly, like the slokas that we are going to read are the amazing, okay, amazing slokas, because these are the answers by the four Kumaras. These are the same four Kumaras who are elder than Lord Shiva, because they appeared before Lord Shiva from Brahmaji, right? And then these are the same four Kumaras who chose to remain the boys for entire their life. They are supremely liberated, okay, and we cannot imagine what mood these great personalities carries, what message each of them, because in entire Srimad Bhagavatam, it is a list of questions and answers, the glorious questions and the glorious answers. Srila Prabhupada has written a book, right? Perfect questions and perfect answers. Yes. Or Srimad Bhagavatam is entirely full of perfect questions and the perfect answers. It is so perfect that Srila Shukadeva Goswami, when he heard these glorious questions from Parikshit Maharaj, he forgot to do the Mangalacharan. The Mangalacharan of Srimad Bhagavatam starts from the second canto. Because the questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj were so glorious, and it made Shukadeva Goswami so excited that those are the perfect questions. And exactly the same way, even in this conversation, Prithu Maharaj is asking, what should be done by common men when they do not have much time? What is the sense of the scriptures? What is the ultimate thing that has to be done? Right. So these are the questions which are getting answered. So I hope I'm audible now. So if not, please raise your hand and kindly let me know if there's an issue in screen or my voice or something. Text 26. Yada ratir brahmani nastiki puman nacharyavana jnana viragrahamsa dahati aviryam hridayam jivakosham panchatakam yonim Ivotito Agnihi. Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. Please read the translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. 1 second, Prabhuji. Upon becoming fixed in his attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by the grace of the spiritual master and by awakening knowledge and detachment, the living entity situated within the heart of the body and covered by the five elements burns up his material surroundings exactly as fire, arising from wood, burns the wood itself. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranams Prabhuji.
Yes, Vrishbhanu Kanya Devi Dasi Mataji.
Shall I read purport,
Yes,
Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhuji. So
Purport?
I also request others to please raise your hands. The purports are long, so we will continue switching. So if your hands are raised, it will help us to switch time to time. Yes, Mataji.
Hare
Please continue.
Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. It is said that both the Jivatma, the individual soul, and the Paramatma live together within the heart. Within the heart, in the Vedic version, it is stated, Hridiye, I am Atma, the soul and spirit and super soul. Both live within the heart. The individual soul is liberated when it comes out of the material heart or cleanses the heart to make it spiritualized. The example given here is very appropriate. Yonim, Prabhuji, please read. Yogadito, Grita, Agni, or fire comes out of wood, and by it the wood is completely destroyed. Similarly, when a living entity increase his attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is to be considered like fire. A blazing fire is visible by its exhibition of heat and light. Similarly, when the living entity within the heart becomes enlightened with full spiritual knowledge and detached from the material world, he burns up his material covering of five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and sky, and becomes free from the five kinds of material consciousness. Therefore, Panchatmakam,
five kinds of material
as mentioned in this verse, refers to either the five elements or the five covering of material containment. When these are all burned into ashes by the blazing fire of knowledge and detachment, one is fixed firmly in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead unless one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and advances one's attraction for Krishna by the spiritual master's instruction. The five covering of the living entity cannot be removed from the material heart. The living entity is centered within the heart, and to take him away from the heart is to liberate him. This is the process. One must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, and by his instruction increases one's knowledge in devotional service, become detached from the material world, and thus become liberated. Advanced devotee therefore does not live within the material body but within the spiritual body, just as a dry coconut lives detached from the coconut husk, even though within the husk. The pure devotee's body is therefore called a Chinmay Satra, a spiritualized body. In other words, a devotee's body is not connected with the material activities, and as such, a devotee is always liberated. Brahma, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpite, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14.26. Sri Rupa Goswami also confirmed this. Dayasya Harer Dasye. Prabhuji, please read.
Yasya Harer Dasye Karmana Manasa Gira Niklasva Api Avastasau Jivan Mukta Sa Uchyate.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Whatever his condition maybe one who is engaged fully with his body, mind, and speech in the service of the Lord is liberated even within this body. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, it was a long talk. Thank you for reading that. Okay, lot of learnings here. And very quickly, the importance which is highlighted here is to approach a spiritual master, because a spiritual master only, right? I read the translation. Upon being fixed in his attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the grace of the spiritual master and by awakening knowledge and detachment, the living entity situated within the heart of the body and covered by the five elements burns up his material surroundings exactly like as fire. Fire which arises from the wood that burns the wood itself. So a wood has a fire, and when that spark comes in, that wood only burns the remaining, the whole wood. So what we learn from here is, when we approach a spiritual master and serve him, ask him questions. Okay, Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnani nastatva darshana. So only the spiritual master who has tattva darshana, right? He has seen the truth, and then he can pass that truth to us in our heart. How? When we approach, ask the question submissively, and then do the seva. So it is an amazing science, because the spiritual master will also say the same thing which has been written into the scriptures, which has been previously said by the previous acharyas. So if we talk about the English sentences which the spiritual master will say, then those English statements can be accessed on Google. Just on a click of the button, we will get everything. But what we cannot get from anywhere else in the world is the realization. When we approach our spiritual master, then there is another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto only, where it says, the lips of the spiritual master are constantly in touch with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. And when we hear from those lips, then we get an access to have some realizations into our heart also. A very small example. At the time of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, one disciple of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, he was worshipping him, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji was worshipping his spiritual master. Another person comes in, and then he sees everyone is worshipping another, and then he asks, why you all don't worship the Lord directly? And then Guru Nanak Dev Ji explained. He takes that person to the fire and then asks, can you touch the fire? The person said, no, I cannot touch. And then he said, you take a wood. Can you touch the fire now? And the person said, yes, now I can do it. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji explained that we cannot approach Krishna directly, but Guru is the via medium, and through him we can do it. So His Holiness Swayam Bhagwan Keshav Swami Maharaj explained in one of his recent lectures. He said, there are three types of people in this world. One, who are unfortunate. These unfortunate people are those who never gets the association of the devotees and always remains away in the material world. Fortunate are those who get the association. Very easy to answer, right? We have to just negate. Unfortunate means no association. So if we just negate it, fortunate means who gets the association? But then guess what? Who are those? What is the third category? The third category of the people are most unfortunate. And these most unfortunate people are those who comes in the association, who have all the opportunity to make it happen in this lifetime, but still takes it lightly and then again misses the chance. These are the third category of people who are most unfortunate, because we are in the train. The train is going to the Goloka Vrindavan. We have to remain inside the train. I remember during earlier times when we go and when we travel in the train, we have to remain always very alert. Right? So many incidents happen. This train, fine, nobody can steal anything. This train is going to Goloka Vrindavana. But that alertness has to be there. Yes, it is true. It is the most sublime path. Yes, it is true that Srila Prabhupada will open the back door. Yes, it is true that Srimati Radharani is most merciful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combined incarnation of Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya. Yes, it is all true. Nityananda Prabhuji's mercy. Yes, of course it is true. But then what is missing is our alertness. We cannot take it for granted. No, they will handle us. We are in. We say that we are in their shelter, but how much hurtful we are, how much attentive we are. I heard this again from another lecture by another senior sannyasi in this call. I cannot recall whether we discussed it last time. So there was a queue. There was a queue of prasadam, right? And in that queue, say there are. Can somebody correct me if Ajit discussed? We will not repeat in the interest of time. There were 5 queues and 10 people sitting in each queue, right? And in the first queue, the rice is served first. And by the time, assume we are sitting in the last person in the 5th row. By the time we receive the rice, we see the paneer sabji in the plate of the first person. Of course, he will get everything first. And now we are just having the rice in our plate. And we are just worried, calling the person. Oh, Prabhuji, please hear me. Please come. And then by the time the paneer sabji comes to us, okay, we see there is a gulab jamun in the plate of the first person. And then we are somehow, okay, our focus is entirely on the gulab jamun, which we don't have. Okay, but we have now rice, we have the paneer sabji. We can relish it very easily, right? There is a chapati also, say in the plate, okay, but that gulab jamun is not yet there. What happens is our entire focus remains on the gulab jamun, and then we are not sitting idle. We are still honoring prasadam, okay. But then by the time gulab jamun also comes in our plate, our rice and our paneer sabji and the chapati is over. Now the question is for all of us. Have we honored the prasadam? Yes, we have. But how much mindful we were when we were honoring the prasadam? Were we really honoring it? No, probably not. We are honoring it only for the namesake, because our focus was entirely on the gulab jamun. So we are not inattentive only while chanting. We are not inattentive while doing the deity worship. We are inattentive all the times. And that is a disease. Because either we are in past, right? Bhagavad Gita 18.54, I guess. either we are Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Sochiti Na Kankshi, right? So we are always either doing the lamentation of the past or having akanksha, right? Desire for the future, but we are never in the present. We had all the chances to relish the rice, the chapati, and the paneer sabji. Gulab jamun was anyway meant to come, right? So we have to have the firm faith. We have to be attentive. Brahmand Brahmite kon bhagyavan jeev. Guru Prasade Krishna. Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Bij. So this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila. I guess I cannot recall the sloka number, but from Madhya Lila. So here it mentions, like, with the mercy of Krishna, we get the association of the spiritual master, and with the mercy of spiritual master, we get Krishna. So we have to be, everything on this path is glorious. It is full of blessings. The blessings which we cannot even assume or expect for ourselves. The Kirtan is full of blessing. Srimad Bhagavatam, association of the devotees, Prasadam, everything is full of blessings. We have to be just very, very grateful that what we have got is not because of we were qualified. We cannot remain the most unfortunate person now after hearing this, right? And then we don't have to reinvent anything newly. It has been all very well asked, very well answered. Everything is there. Just relish it. And soon the miracles will happen, right? I'm just repeating the words of a sannyasi in ISKCON. Soon, and very soon, the miracles will happen, and we will experience the things which we are reading. Everything is right there. We have to just burn the wood made up of this material desire. How? With the spark. Who will give the spark? Spiritual master. We have to acknowledge that it is a spark, and it is very powerful spark, and be respectful to it. Otherwise, we are just putting water on that spark. Okay. And then all the material coverings, right? 7.4. Bhumi Rapa Vanalvayu Kamano Buddhi Vacha. So all the 5 and the remaining 3, the gross and 3 subtle coverings, they are destroyed in no time. And the example, the analogy what is given here is that of the coconut. If the coconut is dry, it does not take much time for the shell to detach. And these are the byproducts, right? The knowledge and the detachment. They are bound to happen once we start acknowledging and being respectful. So it can be a very nice project. Like anyone of you who is interested, wherever the analogy comes, because these analogies are Prabhupada's realizations. They are not something that Prabhupada just wrote to make us understand. These are his personal realizations. So wherever we get an opportunity of any analogy, kindly maybe we can make a book, analogy book, right? AB, right? Analogy book, AB, and we can say AB square, analogy book for absolute truth, right? AB. I don't know. I mean, I just try to make something funny. So the point is what? The analogies of Srila Prabhupada has a lot of potency, and it is very easy to connect them in our real life, right? We read the next verse, and I will look at the hands so that we can read further. Dagda yasho mukta samasta tadguno nevatmano bahir antar vichaste paramatma nor yad Vyavadhanam purustat swapne yatha purusastad vinase. Yes. And I look at the hands. Oh, yes. Thank you,
I'll read,
Sp.Pastimes.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, please. I see two hands and
Read the sloka also or only translation?
Mataji, translation is fine.
Okay. Sloka 27. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When a person becomes devoid of all material desires and liberated from all material qualities, he transcends distinctions between actions executed externally and internally. At that time, the difference between the soul and the supersoul, which was existing before self realization, is annihilated. When a dream is over, there is no longer a distinction between the dream and the dreamer.
Yes, Mataji, please continue. We will switch in between to like after
Yeah,
two paragraphs.
one paragraph shall I read?
Yeah, Mataji, you can read. You can read two.
Purport. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As described by Srila Rupa Goswami, Anyabhilashita Shunyam. One must be devoid of all material desires. When a person becomes devoid of all material desires, there is no longer need for speculative knowledge or fruitive activities. In that condition, it is to be understood that one is free from the material body. The example is already given above. A coconut which is dry is loosened from its outward husk. This is the stage of liberation. As said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.10.6, Mukti, liberation, means Swarupena Vyavastitihi, being situated in one's own constitutional position. All material desires are present as long as one is in the bodily concept of life. But when one realizes that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, his desires are no longer material. A devotee acts in this consciousness. In other words, when material desires in connection with the body are finished, one is actually liberated. When one is liberated from the material qualities, he does not do anything for his personal sense gratification. At that time, all activities performed by him are absolute. The conditions state there are two kinds of activities. One acts on behalf of the body, and at the same time, he acts to become liberated. The devotee, when he is completely free from all material desires or all material qualities, transcends the duality of action for the body and the soul. Then the bodily concept of life is completely over. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Iha yasya hare dashye karmana manasa gira nikilash api avashtashu jivan mukta sa uchyate. When one is completely fixed in the service of the Lord, he is a liberated person in any condition of life. He is called Jivan Muktaha, liberated even within this body. In such a liberated condition, there is no distinction between actions for sense gratification and actions for liberation. When one is liberated from the desires of sense gratification, he has no longer to suffer the reactions of lamentation or illusion. Activities performed by the karmis and jnanis are subject to lamentation and illusion, but a self realized, liberated person acting only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead experiences none. This is the stage of oneness or merging into the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that the individual soul, while keeping his individuality, no longer has separate interest. He is fully in the service of the Lord and he has nothing to do for his personal sense gratification. Therefore, he sees only the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not himself. His personal interest completely perishes. When a person comes out of a dream, the dream vanishes. While dreaming, a person may consider himself a king and see the royal paraphernalia, his soldiers, etc. But when the dream is over, he does not see anything beyond himself. Similarly, a liberated person understands that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, acting in accordance with the desire of the Supreme Lord. And as such, there is no distinction between himself and the Supreme Lord, although both of them retain their individuality. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. This is the perfect conception of oneness in relation to the supersoul and the soul. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so again, so many learnings here. So I want to highlight this part. In the when one is in the liberated, when one is liberated from the material qualities, he does not do anything for his personal sense gratification. So in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, towards the end, a sloka from 30 Yeah, 26 onwards, basically 26 to 35. So there it mentions that a person who is on a liberated platform, okay, who is self-realized, for him there are no actions, okay, but he does it. Why? So that other people in the society, okay, they can follow the same. And Krishna gives his own example that for me there is no duty, there is no prescribed duty for me. But if I don't do, then these people of the entire world will be like they will just follow, and then it will be chaos everywhere, right? So, and when we follow our acharyas, right, who are the self-realized soul, then we don't have to um, do any kind of speculation with our mind, because see, if someone asks a question, should we distribute prasadam, then answer is yes. But then if someone says why, where is it mentioned, then the straightforward answer of this is because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed lot of prasadam. Why we are discussing the prasadam example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here, to discuss the meaning of following our acharyas and spiritual master, because they are the self-realized soul. They are the living examples of the scriptures. There are two types of Bhagavatam, right? Book Bhagavat and the person Bhagavatam. Person Bhagavatam is the one who is leading his life based on the teachings of the Shastras, the book Bhagavatam. So there is one difference which we should be very, very clear about, that yes, we all agree that the Krishna consciousness is very important. But then the very same truth becomes covered with the layers of other thoughts as soon as we are out of the association. So the association keeps our goal in front of us. When we see the devotees, then actually we are seeing our dream. The devotees are reminding what is our purpose of life. If someone thinks I will be out of the association and I will spend my 24 hours in such a way that I do 64 rounds of chanting and have one chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam every day and deity worship without any association, then it is the very nice trick of Maya to make us fall down, because that is not possible. We are not at that level. So even if we feel the association in the set of devotees whom we are associating with, none of them is a pure devotee, even if we have that kind of feeling, okay, then also it is very important that we associate with the devotees. There is absolutely no need to differentiate who is senior, who is junior, and everyone is a devotee, and Mahaprabhu has accepted everyone as a devotee. If a person chants once in his entire lifetime, Mahaprabhu says he's a devotee. Then who are we? Who are we to distinguish and then make the difference and put ourselves into the problem? See, these points are exactly in connection with what we discussed in the previous verse. We cannot be most unfortunate once again in this lifetime also. Well, we had done some bhakti. That's why we have got all this association, this greatest opportunity. But then we must acknowledge in our heart something was missing last time. That's why there is shloka in Bhagavad Gita, right? Suchinam. So they get the birth, right, in the next life into the families of devotees. They get the opportunities. So we have got this opportunity, but we cannot be once again unfortunate. Okay, so any devotee, whoever we are associating with, when we say Hare Krishna, it is doing our purification. If we see someone who is even if our mind tells that no, he is just a new devotee, just joined day one, then it teaches us how to be compassionate, because there was a time, I can tell you very confidently, there was a time when we are still beggar, but there was a time when it was day one for us, and someone has shown that compassion. And with that compassion, only by holding the roots of that compassion, then only we can progress. Otherwise, it is not possible. All of us here in this forum are today in Krishna consciousness because someone had prayed for us, okay, which made us to be little bit qualified to come on the path, right? So we have to follow the parampara, right? So even if a person, I heard from another very senior devotee that we should serve the Vaishnavas, and then the question asked was, what about the others, those who are non-Vaishnavas? Then the answer was, we should serve them even more, because if you have a shop, suppose you have a toy shop, and you know this boy always comes and buy the toys, you will be very careful for that person. But then you will be more careful, more respectful for a person who is coming for the first time, because he can be your potential customer next, right? So with this, we go to the next verse. Atmanam indriyartham cha param yadubhayorapi satyashaya upado vai puman pasyati nanyada. And I see, yes. Giridhar Gopal Prabhuji, can you please read the translation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the soul exists for sense gratification, he creates different desires, and for that reason, he becomes subjected to designations. But when one is in the transcendental position, he is no longer interested in anything except fulfilling the desires of the Lord. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes, please.
Yeah, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Being covered by material desires, a spirit soul is also considered to be covered by designations belonging to a particular type of body. Thus, he considers himself an animal, man, demigod, bird, beasts, etc. In so many ways, he is influenced by false identification caused by false egotism. In being covered by illusory material desires, he distinguishes between matter and spirit. When one is devoid of such distinctions, there is no longer a difference between matter and spirit. At that time, the spirit is the only predominating factor. As long as one is covered by material desires, he thinks himself the master or the enjoyer. Thus, he acts for sense gratification and becomes subjected to material pangs, happiness, and distress. But when one is freed from such a concept of life, he is no longer subjected to designations, and he envisions everything as spiritual in connection with the Supreme Lord. This is explained by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.255. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjatah उपयुञ्जतः निर्बन्धः कृष्ण सम्बन्धे युक्तं वैराग्यम् उच्यते. The liberated person has no attachment for anything material or for sense gratification. He understands that everything is connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that everything should be engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not give up anything. There is no question of renouncing anything because the Paramahamsa knows how to engage everything in the service of the Lord. Originally, everything is spiritual, nothing is material. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 8.274, also it's explained that Mahabhagavata, a highly advanced devotee, has no material vision. स्थावर जंगम देखे ना देखे तर मूर्ति सर्वत्र हया निज इष्ट देव स्फुरति. Although he sees trees, mountains, and other living entities moving here and there, he sees all as the creation of the Supreme Lord. And with reference to the context, context sees only the creator and not the created. In other words, he no longer distinguishes between the created and the creator. He sees only the supreme personality of Godhead in everything. He sees Krishna in everything and everything in Krishna. That this is oneness. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna. Thanks a lot, Prabhu. Yes. So now one ISKCON sannyasi was asked this question: have you seen the Lord? And then he answered, no, I have not seen the Lord. But then I have seen his hands in everything that is happening around me. So that has to be our mood. Once His Grace Sarvama Prabhuji, he was giving this example that we have to be like a lion and not like a dog. And then further he explained the way that the dog reacts when a ball is thrown towards the dog will always run towards the ball. Whereas the lion will never run behind the ball. He will run behind the person who threw the ball. So Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 5th chapter, in the purport of shloka number 21, Lord explains that for a devotee, the book of the karma, that is closed. So, but then why does the miseries, why does the challenge still comes into the life of the devotee? And then Prabhupada explains there is like special handcrafted plan of Krishna. Krishna does it so that he can be purified, and he can be basically more and more glorified. Okay, purification, yes, of course, yes, because Lord wants us. Lord is like that mother which cleanses her own child, however muddy cloth he is in, right? The same mother will take the boy, give him bath, remove the cloth, wash the clothes, okay, clean very nicely with soap and shampoo, and then put perfume, and then put the comb, and then everything, nice tilakam, and when the boy is ready, and then mother is saying, oh, my boy is looking so nice. She only has done it everything. For a devotee, it is the Lord who has done everything. Then the Lord is saying, oh, how good this devotee is. Oh Lord, you only have done it, right? And then, as we mentioned, if there are still some challenges, if there are still some time which is taking, then we should be taking it as Krishna's plan. And there are so many examples. Example of Bali Maharaj. If we look externally, then his everything was taken, but then he's most glorified, right? Lord has become the chowkidar, watchman of Bali Maharaj in the lower planetary system, right? And then comes the example of Pratap Rudra from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Externally, Lord was behaving to set an example that a sannyasi should not be associating with the rich worldly people, so that it becomes a message for other sannyasis. Internally, he knew it. It was same Pratap Rudra who was helping all the Navadip Vasis who were coming to Jagannath Puri and staying there for 4 months. All their accommodation, prasadam, and everything was taken care by Pratap Rudra. And then Lord showers his mercy when he gives him darshan during the Rath Yatra also, right? There were many devotees divided into different groups, and Mahaprabhu was there in each of the group at the same time. And very few people, so Guru Damodar, Ramananda Rai, Sarvama Bhattacharya, only very few people could see it, including Ramananda Rai, including King Pratap Rudra. So there, it may take some time. We may not be able to see it externally, but then every single thing which is happening in the life of a devotee is a handcrafted plan of Krishna. We need to have the patience and take it very, very, very seriously. It is not happening just by a coincidence. Okay. So I think in the interest of time, we'll read the remaining part quickly. 29th. Nimitte sati sarvatra jaladav api purushaha atmanascha parasyapi bhida. Read it again. Atmanascha parisyapi bhidam pasyati nanyada. Yes, those who have not read and want to read, please. I had seen the hand of Archana Mataji. Mataji, you still want to read the translation of the word? Archana Mataji? Hare Krishna. Am I audible? Anyone else want to read? All right, so I continue. Only because of the different causes does a person see a difference between himself and others, just as one sees the reflection of a body appearing differently manifested on water, on oil, or in the mirror. The spirit soul is one, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is manifested in Swamsha, Vibhinamsha expressions. The Jivas are Vibhinamsha's expansions. The different incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are Swamsha expansions. Thus, there are different potencies of the Supreme Lord, and there are different expansions of the different potencies. In this way, for different reasons, there are different expansions of the same one principle, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This understanding is real knowledge, but when the living entity is covered by the upadhi or the designated body, he sees differences, exactly as one sees differences in reflections on oneself, on water, on oil, or in a mirror. When something is reflected on the water, it appears to be moving. When it is reflected on ice, it becomes fixed. When it is reflected on oil, it appears hazy. The subject is one, but under different conditions it appears differently. When the qualifying factor is taken away, the whole appears to be one. In other words, when one comes to the Paramhamsa or perfectional stage of life by practicing Bhakti Yoga, he sees only Krishna everywhere. For him, there is no other objective. In conclusion, due to different causes, the living entity is visible in different forms as an animal, human being, demigod, tree, etc. Actually, every living entity is the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 5.18, therefore, it is explained that one who actually sees the spirit soul does not distinguish between a learned Brahmana or a dog or an elephant or a cow, Pandita Samadarshana. One who is actually learned sees only the living entity, not the outward covering. Differentiation is therefore the result of different karma or fruitive activities. And when we stop fruitive activities, turning them into acts of devotion, we can understand that we are not different from anyone else, regardless of the form. This is only possible in Krishna consciousness. In this movement, there are many different races of men from all parts of the world participating. But because they think of themselves as servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they do not differentiate between black and white, yellow and red. The Krishna conscious movement is therefore the only means to make the living entity free from all designations. So on this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Jivere Saurup Hoye Krishnere Nitya Das. So there are in the Navada Bhakti there are 9 forms, right? Sarvanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, right? Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So Dasyam is one which is common in all the forms. Everyone accepts to be the servant of the Lord. And I heard this very I think yesterday only there was a lecture. So Lord Lord, who is the God, right? Even he does not have ego. He is ready to serve his devotees, and he's serving it. Even those who are non-devotees, he's serving them all the times. Non-devotees are not stopped for their oxygen and the water and the other necessities of the life. Even they are served, right? But then we, this minute, small part and parcel of the Lord, we have so much of ego. We do not want to serve this, but we can serve this. We can not do that, we can do this. We have so many restrictions. Once, at least once, before we leave our body, let us at least try once, leaving and forgetting all these designations. Okay, if it is our business, if it is our shop, we will do anything and everything to make that shop progress. Srila Prabhupada said, ISKCON is my body. And if you want to serve Krishna, then the best is to serve. Shiva says to Mother Parvati, out of all the worships, the best worship is of Lord Vishnu. But then higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of Tadya, right? Tadya is those who are related to Lord. Srila Prabhupada is the devotee, pure devotee of the Lord. If he serve ISKCON, okay? If we are in a temple, if we are need to sweep the floor, sweep it. And if we are required to sweep the heart, let us sweep that also. Right? We have to accept that we are here to get purified, like everyone else. But then, if you want to progress, we have to look everybody as a ambassador of the Lord sent into our life to help us progress. 30th. Indriyer Vishaya Krishter Akshipitam Dhyayatam Manaha Chetnam Harate Buddhe Stambhastoyam Ivardat. Yes, Rachana Mataji, please read the translation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Am I audible, Prabhuji?
yes, very much.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, you're audible. Please go ahead. Continue.
Translation and purport. May I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please read, Mataji. Yes.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. When one's mind and senses are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continually thinking of sense object, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost. Like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by a big grass straw on its bank. Purport. In this verse, it is very nicely explained how our original Krishna consciousness becomes polluted and we gradually become almost completely forgetful of our relationship with Supreme Lord. In a previous verse, it is recommended that we should always keep in touch with devotional service of the Lord so that the blazing fire of devotional service can gradually burn into ashes material desires and we can become liberated from the repetition of birth and death. This is also how we can indirectly keep our staunch faith in the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the mind is allowed to think of sense gratification continuously, it becomes the cause of our material bondage. If our mind is simply filled with sense gratification, even though we want Krishna consciousness, by continuous practice, we cannot forget the subject matter of sense gratification. If one takes up sannyasa order of life, but it is not able to control the mind, he will think of objects of sense gratification, namely family, society, expensive house, etc. Even though he goes to Himalayas or the forest, his mind will continue thinking of the objects of sense gratification. In this way, gradually one's intelligence will be affected. When intelligence is affected, one loses his original taste for Krishna consciousness. Thank you, Prabhuji. I think another Mataji is interested in reading. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. I don't see any hands. May I know who wants to read? Hare Krishna. Okay.
Some other Mataji was also reading, Prabhuji. May she get a chance? Hare Krishna.
Okay, I don't see hand, Mataji. You can continue. Otherwise, I request someone to please raise the hand so we give the chance. You read, Mataji, continue for now. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare
The
Krishna,
example
Prabhu.
given- Yeah, Mataji, please continue, Mataji. You only.
The example given here is very appropriate. If a big lake is covered all around by long kusa grass, just like columns, and the water's drying up similarly, when the big columns of material desire increases, the clear water of consciousness is dried up. Therefore, these columns of kusa grass should be cut or thrown away from the very beginning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed that if from the very beginning we do not take care of unwanted grass in the paddy fields, the fertilizing agents or water will be used by them, and the paddy plants will dry up. The material desire for sense enjoyment is the cause of our fall down in this material world, and thus we suffer the threefold miseries and continuous birth, death, old age, and disease. However, if we turn our desires towards the transcendental loving service of the Lord, our desires become purified. We cannot kill desires. We have to purify them of different designations. If we can constantly think of being a member of particular nation, society, or family, and continuously think about them, we become very strongly entangled in conditioned life of birth and death. But if our desires are applied to service of the Lord, they become purified, and thus we become immediately freed from material contamination. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, thank you so much. So we just take the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Rupa Goswami in Manasiksha, right? When we have to take care of our bhakti by putting the fences, so that, right, as long as the seed is not fructifying, no other goat or any other animal will come to destroy it, right? But when we are starting to do the practice and then somewhat results we see, then there will be so much of attacks by our own mind, by the people around us. So we have to take care of that. How do we take care of that? We externally we need to be very leading our very same normal life, okay? But internally we have to be more and more introvert. Wherever we get a chance to associate with the devotees, we do it, okay? We water the bhakti lata bees by hearing and chanting, right? So it is very important, like, to learn from the example of Sukadeva Goswami. See, Sukadeva Goswami was one who is as an example in the Navada Bhakti. For Shravanam, it is Parikshit Maharaj. For Kirtanam, it is Parikshit Maharaj. Sorry, it is Sukadeva Goswami. But then, have you seen Sukadeva Goswami anytime taking harmonium or the mridanga and doing the Sankirtan? No, right? Still, he is the example for Kirtanam. How? Because he had that into the in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the love for Srimad Bhagavatam. So his Kirtana was expressed in that form. So it need not to be into the singing Kirtanam form. It can be into the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So yes, and then when he was going to recite Bhagavatam, people were behind him, and he was going naked and not worrying about like a boy, right? 16 years old boy, and he was not worried about how the things are there around him. Another example of this was Jada Bharat. They are not at all worried about how the things are happening externally, right? But we are not at that level. So remain as we are, behave more socially as we do externally, and when we get a chance, pass Krishna. But always have Krishna inside the heart, so that we are always preached by ourselves, right? That's it, Prabhuji and Mataji. Sorry, we are 7 minutes late. There were long purports. And if you have any one question or comments, we can take it, and then otherwise we close this. Okay, all right. Vancha kalpatarubhescha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Kindly forgive me if I said or used some example which was not appropriate. So I seek your forgiveness for that. And thank you so much for your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.